It's the early hours of dawn. His sleep is interrupted by creatures who find shelter in the dark, and all the noises heightened by the quiet curiosity of the night. The fiddling noises immediately remind him that it's happening again. His concern sobers any thirst for rest. He wears a balaclava, covering his head, only leaving the eyes exposed. Suddenly the footsteps begin to make their way up the stairs like usual, prompting him to prepare himself for the act of pretense. He goes back to bed, disguised as unconscious. The door slowly swings open, letting in a spill of light, and behind it the shadow of a figure standing and observing the scene. Thumb in his mouth, he bites down in the effort to contain the atomic exploration happening within, keeping up with his act. After a while the door closes and the figure disappears behind it. He drops the act and jumps out of bed at life-threatened speed, reaching under the bed and pulling out a dark tiny case to retrieve a pair of black-resistant leather gloves. Back positioned against the wall, he waits patiently, stealing a glimpse out the window. Subsequently, he serves witness as she walks out the door, places the keys within a small opening between the walls and disappears. He hangs his legs out the window and settles on the window frame. The blowing wind complements the peaceful atmosphere only found in the earliest hours of dawn. Luring him to sentiment, it's a moment of reflection for him. He almost can't take the reality of it occurring once more. In his mind it was clear it would happen again, but the heart wasn't willing to accept it. Let me catch up, I'd sentence myself for any crimes committed against her. His internal thoughts linger. The grip in his gloves help propel the rest of his body off the wall, into the pupil of the sky. Diving, then rolling across the surface as he comes to a swift stop. This is a maneuver he is proud to have mastered after several disastrous tries. He gazes at the center of his palm, amazed by his newfound abilities, before disappearing into the dark and becoming one with the night. She's in fear walking all alone at this time of night, but the mind won't allow her to crop out details in the bigger picture just to accommodate the present reality. Truth is, she has rubbed against the sharp edges of the restless night enough times to blunt the fear. Perhaps depressed by the horrific daily struggle and shame that life has gathered itself into. In her mind she knows no other way of living and earning enough to support her kids, and so she won't stop at nothing. She can sense a watchful eye, but she's always found it hard to connect with God. Maybe it's because of the life I've lived. She condemns herself. Despite her sins, she has always felt watched over, but more recently it's felt like God was amongst the trees, standing at the corner of buildings, walking behind her and hiding between the dark folds of dimness. Almost as if he was fed up and had decided now is the time to punish her. Walking faster and faster as the suspicion grows behind her. Abruptly, a force amongst the trees expressed in the form of an approaching sound traps her body in shock. Ready to fight the unknown, nothing emerges. A loud noise disrupting the moments brings an end to the horror, giving her enough time to walk off, confused by what she heard, having not seen anything to support the evidence of her hearing. Exhausted from the exchange, he believes he may have killed a man. He must keep up with her. That's the only thought he is willing to entertain at the moment. Maybe she isn't going where he thinks she's going. The route seems similar enough, not the exact path she wanders through on the usual basis. Running at blistering speed, in pockets of spaces difficult to spot him, he jumps over, then under from one building to the next in an effort to close the gap. You killed a man, he realizes. He tries to brush it off yet again, struggling to keep his breathing at a minimal as he settles on top of a high building at the edge of the roof with only half his head leaning over facing the floor. He can't shake off the deep concern that he may have lost trace of her during the scuffle. He observes a multitude of women standing at the infamous street of whores, as they call it, different ages and varying looks, dressed in efforts to seduce any strange man walking past with a willingness to make an exchange. And there was his mother, one amongst the many prostitutes trying to make a living. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more quirky tales.